Today, I am going to discuss my emotional healing process. It's late October of 2023, and September was a really rough month for me. I managed to stay out of depression, but it was a really hard practice. I'm getting better at it. For a while, I was getting depressed every 3 months, and I couldn't really understand why. I thought maybe I was just chemically faltered or broken. But then I read a really good book. I'm going to pull it up so that I don't get the title wrong. But it's a really great book by a psychologist that I've seen talks through. And it talks about healing the different fragmented parts of the traumatized self. And in this book, it talks about how we can be different parts of ourselves, all within the same self. And it's natural and it's healthy. So this book was by Janina Fisher, Fisher, Healing the Fragmented Selves of Trauma Survivors. So that was the first book I read. The second book I read was No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz. The book by Janina Fisher, I really feel that book changed my life in a way. I feel it changed my life because it changed the way that I can talk to myself and the relationship that I can have with the different parts of myself. So in this book, Dr. Fisher is talking about dissociative structural disorder. And in that disorder, sometimes you don't realize that you have different parts of yourself working at the same time. And depending on how extreme your trauma response was, most of the time you split like that because of some sort of trauma. Depending on how extreme the trauma was, that is how great the parts can be separated. A person may not be able to even see a difference, and they may not be able to remember what happens in one part when they're in a different part of themselves. Fortunately for me, I was able to sense the different sides of me, but for me it was kind of like that big mystery of, why am I like this? Why do I battle with myself? Why does half of me want to go this way and half of me wants to go the opposite way? And this book really gave me some good insight on why that happens and what is going on. And then the other thing is, this book is really gentle. The Janina Fisher book, very gentle. Her language is really safe, and she gives really good cues on how to word things for yourself. So as I'm reading through this book, I'm understanding how I can start connecting to the different parts. And then I finished that book and things were going okay. I was stable, but it was really hard to be stable. I was also going through a period, I was on a time crunch. So I'm in Ghana and I'm not here on a long-term visa. So I was running out of time, and I was either gonna have to leave the country, get my NGO work settled and completed. The application that I'm filling out has been taking a long time. There's a lot of steps. Every time I go back to turn everything in, they give me one more thing that I'm supposed to do. And I could pay someone a bunch of money to do it for me, but I like to know what's going on. So for me, I'd prefer to do it the hard way and have it take a little longer. But what stressed me out is I was running out of time. And I thought I was going to be able to complete it, and I couldn't. And it was much harder on me than I expected. So I became really stuck. I wasn't making as much progress. I had been in a really good routine. I had just started a really good routine with food as well. Food's been a really big struggle for me. But yesterday I did a really good meditation with the different parts of me, and I think part of me wants to disappear. My entire life, I'm half black, half white. So, but I lived in a white world. Both of my parents that raised me are white. My siblings are white. And their family, that's my family. Those are my people. But in going out in the world, I was always other. And so because I was other, I couldn't be exactly labeled black. So people couldn't treat me as badly as they wanted to treat a black person. But I couldn't be treated equally to white because it's obvious that I'm not white. So I ended up in this situation where I would go out in public and people feel and it's still the same today. Like, I come to Ghana and people treat me the same way. But I go out in public and people feel very comfortable asking me all kinds of very personal questions, asking me why, how. It's not even a connection, it's more of an interrogation, and it's harassment. Every time I go out, I will be harassed. And so I'm having to find a way now to navigate through that. But there's a part of me, because it happened when I was very young. I was really young, and people would come up to me in the grocery store. Oh, your daughter's beautiful. Are you adopted? Did you adopt her? Or why is your hair so big? Why is your hair so fluffy? And people putting their hands on me without ever even asking to touch me. That's the experience that I had as a child. That part of me has not aged. It has not matured, but it is still inside of me and still operating within my current life and my current surroundings. So now, fast forward, I'm 43 years old. I'm living in Ghana. I'm a foreigner here. I look different. So when I go out, I get bombarded with questions by people. All I have to do is ask them how they're doing. And then is that your hair? Who does your hair? You're white. Where are you from? Why are you here? Why aren't you married? Why don't you have children? You should have children. Look at you. You're a nice woman. You're a good woman. You should have children. How do you know I'm a nice woman? How do you know I'm a good woman? And that part of me that's so young, I'm guessing she's like 4 or 5 years old. That part of me wants to disappear. That part of me wants to be able to Harry Potter style invisible cloak myself and walk out into the world where nobody sees me. I want to be able to just be invisible. Do I really want to be invisible? Myself, my 43-year-old self that's been through everything I've been through. No, I want to be a part of a community. But there's this young part of me that's like, I don't want anyone to see me. I don't want them to talk to me. I want them to leave me alone. And I'm having to try to talk to this young part saying, I get it. It sucks having people ask you these personal questions all the time. You don't have any boundaries. You don't have any protection. Your family didn't protect you from those things. I wasn't given tools. I wasn't told and warned, like, you're going to go out into the world and people are not going to understand you. But it doesn't matter. You don't need people to understand you. You're perfect. You're worthy. You're special. You're amazing. I have to put those things into myself. And now I'm trying to do that with these parts of myself. Some of the parts, so the point of this type of therapy, in the Janina Fisher book, she has her own method. I'm drawing a blank as to what the name of her method is. It's like trauma-informed something else. But then the second book that I read, and I finished this book probably a week and a half ago, the No Bad Parts book by Richard Schwartz. That book was a little bit more simplified with the work, and he gave, so I'm not a fan of audiobooks, but this No Bad Parts, I could only find it in the audiobook, so I was listening to it, and it was a challenge, but then it came to a part for exercises, and the author himself reads through the exercises and takes you through these meditations. And it's the Internal Family Systems, IFS, practice. So he gives labels like exiles and managers and protectors. And in that book, as you're going through the exercises and you're guided through them, it makes it really easy to do the work. And in that book, he makes it very clear the goal is to connect to these parts, become aware of them, have them trust you. You want to unburden the part of the feeling that it has. Let it know that you understand why those feelings are there. It's all about connecting, understanding, becoming aware, letting that part feel safe enough to trust you so that then you can unburden those feelings of that part. And there's a really beautiful part of this meditation that he does where you're connecting to this part and you say, okay, I understand why you don't want to go out into the world and be seen, because being harassed is not fun and you don't deserve it. You know, you deserve to be able to just be free and go through the world like everyone else. How does that make you feel? You know, why do you want to feel invisible? What feeling? Where do you feel that in your body? Maybe the part says, I get this tightness in my chest and I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I'm suffocating because all these people are around and they're just coming on top of me and it's too much. You say, that does not feel good. I understand now even why the feeling to be stronger, to be invisible is stronger. Well, let's take some of this feeling from your chest and let's release it. Just a little bit. We'll release some of that tension. You want to release it to fire, to water, to wind, to earth. And this part might say, I want to release it to wind. You know, it's breath. I want to release it to the wind. Let's just take a little of that tightness. Let's let the wind carry it away and take it through the light and change it, transform it into something lighter and brighter. How does that feel? It feels good. I like that feeling in my chest. Okay, so now that you feel a little bit lighter, what do you think about letting me be in charge, letting me be in the driver's seat when we go out in public and we're around people? Because for me, I don't know if you know this, but I'm 43 years old. And sometimes your parts are like, you're 43? Yeah, I'm an adult. I'm 43 years old. Oh, what would you think about me being in charge when we go out in public? And that way, when people are asking all these questions, if I feel comfortable answering, I can give them a small answer. But if I don't feel like answering, I don't have to answer. And it's okay. That nothing bad is going to happen. And sometimes you have to find a different way to get that part to trust you, or in a scenario. And you might have to do this many times. So in the book, No Bad Parts, Dr. Schwartz recommends that you do this type of meditation every day. Start connecting to your part. Sit down in a quiet space. Become calm. Start breathing. Sit tall. Who's around today? What are you feeling? Why do you feel this way? Where do you live? And you'll get these images many times from the parts. Memories that they want you to know that it's important, that they want you to be able to process back through. You know, for the last couple of years, I was 0 to 7. Those are the parts that I was dealing with. I wish I'd had this book 2 years ago, because I think the unburdening would have been a little more fluid. And then after you unburden these parts, you can take them from their scenery and bring them anywhere in the world they want to go. You know, this is a fantasy world partly too. So this morning I did a meditation, and the young part that wanted to disappear, or the young part that I was talking to this morning, I don't think it was the invisible part, it was a different part, I don't remember. But the young part I was talking to this morning, after we unburdened those feelings, that part wanted water and wind. So I was like, well, let's be in a storm. It's raining and the water's gonna wash the low back, because this part was feeling unworthiness. Like they weren't worthy. Okay, now I remember. In the mornings, I'm having a real aversion to making myself food, preparing food for myself, Sometimes I have an aversion to getting up and taking care of my laundry. And I'm like, oh, but why do I have to do it? And I'm like, that thought doesn't belong to me. It didn't originate with me. When I was young, my mother was suffering a lot, mentally, emotionally, and she was very resentful of the fact that she was in charge and she was responsible for the care of her own children and herself and her home. It felt like she was being forced to do something that no one else had to do, and it made her feel less than, unworthy, frustrated, angry, alone. But I had to hear that message. Why do I always have to do this? I don't want to have to do this every day. I had trouble sleeping. One time my mom came in and soothed me to sleep. She rubbed my back. She told me to imagine all these peaceful scenes, and I was able to go to sleep. Well, the next night I couldn't sleep, so I went to her, and she told me that, she said, Sarah, I can't do that for you every day. You're gonna have to figure out a way to do that for yourself. So it's kind of a one and done for me. Like, okay, this is the way that it's done. I'm not ever gonna do it for you again. So I have this message in a young part of myself that if I have to take care of myself, and if I have to take care of the home that I've chosen, and I have to, do all of these tasks and chores and responsibilities, it's because I'm less than, and that's being put on me. And this part, I was like, wow, that's really heavy, and that's not even, you were taught that. That's not even your belief. You had that put inside of you. Where do you feel that in your body? And I just took a moment to check in with my body and waited for a signal from a part of my body. And it was my low back, and like that sacral area, the part of the back. I've been having aches and pains there. I've been having a really hard time getting my hips to go into that neutral posture and stay there. And that's exactly the part of the body that this part was saying that they felt their unworthiness in. So I asked them, let's unburden you of this. Which element do you want to use? And this part said water and wind. So I said, okay, it's going to be raining, and this water is going to wash down on your low back, and it's going to wash that unworthiness out of your low back, and then it's going to get carried away by the wind, and the wind is going to take it into the light, and it's going to transform that unworthiness into beautiful, pure peace, where you know you're worthy, you know you're loved. And as I did that, I felt a difference in my low back as to what was going on in my body. The takeaway, now the fact that I could do this today and have it and go through it so clearly, I've been working at this for the last month. I'm abroad right now, so I don't have a therapist. I would like to be working with a therapist. I'm in some really sticky places right now. Parts of me are really fragile right now, and it's bringing up a lot of emotion for me. But just practicing that and just being able to unburden some of the unworthiness from a young part of myself, from a lesson that I was taught, at a very young age, from a very important person in my life. So of course I was going to take that lesson and believe it and believe that that was truth. As I'm saying this, it makes me remember that as a older teen, before I was going to be on my own, I was like, I'm never going to be a server. I'm never going to have a job in the service industry because of how my dad's mom treated people. My stepdad raised me, and his mother was not a very light and kind person. Her sharing love was very condescending and derogatory. But if you asked her, it was all in love. And and then that message that I had from my mother, if you're the one that has to take care of people, you're less than. It's because you're not as good as them. You don't equal as much as they do. The first job I got whenever I was an adult was in the service industry. You know, I'm already betraying myself and putting myself through those unworthy roles. So I believed. Do I believe that those roles are unworthy? No. But was that belief somewhere inside of me? Yes. And it didn't belong there. So I wanted to get rid of it. So that's the work that I'm doing right now. It's really hard. I feel really stuck. That's why this channel is not flowing very well. I'd like to be posting more. I'd like to be sharing more, but I'm just not in a headspace where I have the capability of doing that. This video is a start to that. But yeah, I'm doing it. I'm continuing, and I'm gonna keep up the work, and I'm gonna try to keep growing this channel. So if you're here, thanks for being here. If you'd like to share anything that you're going through, I'm open to being shared with. So thanks for being here, and I hope you enjoy your day.